Well, welcome to my channel once again, and today we're going to be discussing the Moline 3/4 inch radiator valve. I've done a little accent there to spell out the lovely Art Nouveau script, and we're going to be diving into some of its secrets today as much as we can on this iteration. This is not a complete valve. It's missing a couple of parts, and we're going to have to make do. So there's the spud, which is fairly ordinary and follows the standard pattern of 100 per 100 years. The two lugs and the union nut are otherwise unremarkable. The overall fit and finish is very good. A fairly robust design. The nickel plating after a while is flaking off, and there you can sort of catch a glimpse of the unique Moline restrictor that restricts the steam going through the valve and into the radiator. We'll get a closer look at that later. That's just the supply side. This is where the steam goes through here and out here, of course. So the handle is usually a rubber, a highly vulcanized hardened rubber, which is brittle and is sometimes either missing or in poor condition. So we have a duplicate here, 3D printed. I'll get into that a little bit. There is a cap with a slotted head, according to the pictures and documentations, which is missing on this particular model. So I guess you would take a large bladed screwdriver and remove the cap and expose underneath a slotted head special type of nut, which is then removed, and the inner core can come out. And this has several parts inside. I'm going to take them out. There is a brass spring. Now these have all been cleaned up with a vinegar solution. There's the nut. There's the spring, which is still functioning, and a following washer, also brass construction. And there's the inside there, which is a sort of the 8-point design, I believe. This is usually crudded up with calcium deposits from the various leaks. Get a look at that handle there. There is a uh, 1024 screw, approximately 3/8, I believe. And then there is a washer with a cutout to act as a non-spinning device, which corresponds to this cutout here on the handle. Typical lever construction, turn of the century design. This is the top bezel here. Moline heat, it says, and goes from closed to open with less than a full turn. And there's usually a set screw here, which is very difficult to get to due to the clearance. There's our set screw there. It's I think it's a 632 or something. A little point. Not much to it. Again, difficult to get to. This does move, but usually by the time you get to it, it probably won't want to come off. This particular version, this was pretty well bent. People try to get it off. You really can't get any kind of good grip on there. I managed to hammer it back into a rough approximation of what it used to be. And there's the stem. At the bottom there, you can see a ridge sticking up in the middle, which is where that would be where the packing was. So you can add more packing on this to try to cut down on the leaks. The best way to, of course, cut down on the leaks, besides adding more packing, is to reduce the pressure. These systems were designed to operate at extremely low pressures. People have tried to remove this in the past with a wrench. That may be the best way if you can't get this this part off easily. You may have to go with a regular open-ended wrench. But if you can get this off, one of the very nice ways is get an 8-point deep socket, 1 1/8 inch, 8-point, and that goes over top of this very nicely, and that'll spin that bad boy right off. So out comes the bonnet. This is the main body. You can see the where the restriction part is there. Makes metal-to-metal contact at the bottom, and that's the raised boss where the washer shuts off the steam. Again, reasonably good quality construction. The nickel is starting to flake. That's to be expected. So let's take a look at this. This sometimes gets stuck, but it's cylindrical. Again, these slots vary from 1 to, I guess, maybe as many as 6. I don't know exactly. This is the only iteration I've seen, and there are very few photos of this online. So this is pretty much it as far as construction is concerned. There we are. So this comes out, and a weak point is that there is at the bottom of here also packing. You can see the ridge here and the ridge here, which is meant to contain it. So they got packing on the bottom, and which is hard to get to, and packing on the top, which is more readily accessible, and it's spring loaded. This here, by the way, is 1/4-20, and this comes apart. You have your standard Acme thread spiral, and there are 3 independently acting spirals. I've marked one with a silver Sharpie to so you can get a sense. This allows the essentially 1 or less than 1 turn to be able to raise and lower this to its maximum. The problem is with this type is this tends to jam up over time, and it does call for some maintenance as expected. And this is the weak point. It's a single cast piece that they machined. There is a special washer nut here, which is unique. It may or may not come apart. I managed to break this thing when I took it apart. So I'll show you what this looks like. Similar in construction to this nut on top. And as you can see, this comes apart because, again, I managed to break it. There's no, this is all one solid piece. But it did allow me to double check what the threads were on this, and they are 1232. It's number 12 size 32, which does exist on paper, but in reality, such threads don't really exist anymore. They're pretty much a paper thread, as it were. This is a 1-inch neoprene rubber washer that I have stamped out locally, and it does seem to fit well in this. So don't do what I do. Don't put any stress on this at all, because you can see it's very thin and easily torn. So that's this guy right here. So you can kind of work on this with some care, but if you wish to restore functionality, you can, without disconnecting the radiator, you can order a rebuild, a sort of zombie rebuild kit from Tunstall. It's their Macon Controls. That is their designation. RSMO for Moline, 75 standing for 3/4 of an inch. And there's their number, which they can be reached if you want to order this. So it's for the 3/4 inch Moline hand valve. This is the very one that they used to build this kit. It's the one I sent them. So this is what you normally get with this kit. You get the seat and gasket. This goes to the bottom. I would put anti-seize here because this tends to stick and tear. This goes there like so. And it's spring loaded, so as you crank down on this, it pushes the gasket down onto the original seat. And you want to make sure that's fairly clean and nick-free. And this is the control washer. And you push down on this tab. On the outside, you can see it move, like so. And this then gets installed. That's really push and twist. See if I can do that. There we go. Oh boy. That's a pretty strong spring, I mean. And then you crank on that, and you pretty much bottom out and squish that washer. And then you can either get a actuator for this, or a thermostatic actuator, or you can go the hand valve route and thread that on and turn this into a hand valve. The only problem is the restrictor is gone. I would like to figure out a way of using this, because this is sort of part and parcel of the Moline system. The only other way would be to get a orifice plate and drill it out and put it here, and put it in there. And that's probably one way of getting this to make sure that the radiator doesn't overheat and pass steam into the dry return, because the Moline system didn't have traps. It just had had that elbow, that shut-off valve elbow that I did an earlier video on. So there's the Moline. Thank you very much. I hope this proves useful to you if you have the Moline system and wanted to know what's inside this valve, or if you run into one. If you have any comments and any suggestions on what I could show on the Moline system, or your experiences with these, we'd all very much like to hear about it. So I thank you very much, and stay warm.